everybody. Bob Schick back with another edition of The Voice of Bodybuilding. My co-host Sean Ray will be joining me in just a few minutes, but there are a few things that I wanted to address before we get to this week's topics. Most notably, the Arnold Classic just passed this last weekend, and it was big and bold, and my Panada team was there in full force. First time that we were there at the Arnold in America, and of course we delivered the best equipment in the world always with Panada, so big shout out to my team, and what a great job they continue to do. That said, the topic of the weekend, of course, was, Bob, why aren't you emceeing? Why didn't we see you on stage? And I've got some answers for that, which I wanted to address fully when I had an opportunity. So I'm going to take you back to last year. I did last year's Arnold and Arnold UK, which are only a week or two apart. And to be quite frank, and I'm just going to kind of get to the topic at hand without mincing words, the production in Ohio last year and in the UK were so poorly put together. The team so incompetent, the producer of the Arnold also incompetent, that it was just a complete shit show when it came to production. And I pride myself on my work, of course, on stage. Everybody knows I've been doing the Olympia for many years. I've done pretty much every show on this earth for many, many years now. And a lot of that, you are subject to your production team. Yes, I can do a lot of stuff on stage. I can only do the best I can do. Without a good team behind you, it's very difficult to do anything on stage. And that's from the backstage expediters to the actual producer, the sound guy, the director, if you have one, all of that. When I tell you the level of incompetence, I'm not mincing words when I say this was probably the worst produced show I've ever been a part of. And for those that were there, you could see that quite plainly. And I tell you who else could see it was Arnold, because he was sitting in the front row, and I can tell just by the look on his face, he was not liking what he was seeing. And what I'm saying by that is there was huge gaps in time. Stage time is different than real time. Silence is death on stage. Anybody who's been part of any kind of production can tell you that. Despite repeated attempts to try to get production meetings throughout the year, they didn't seem interested in any ideas. No production meetings were had at any point before we got actually on stage. We went through one read through. It was all over the place, and I warned them at that time. I says, this is not going to work. What they wanted to do was they wanted to go from whatever I was doing at that time, introducing a class. Let's just say we finished the figure class. Oh, no, we can't do figure. They're not there. The bikini class. And then we're going to go to commercial. I says, great. So we go to commercial. Are we showing the commercial on the screen live? No. Okay, so I have to fill that time in. I says, okay, when we come out of the commercial, let's just say that's a minute, do we now come back to me? No. I says, well, what are we doing? So we're going to go from the commercial to the commentators backstage, and they're going to talk. We're going to kind of see what they're talking about. Okay, well, how long is that going to be? Could be 2-3 minutes. All right, hang on. So you're talking about 4 minutes of dead time. Are we showing the commentators on the big screen? No. So what would you like me to do for 4 minutes on stage, which for anybody, again, dealing in production knows, it might as well be 40 minutes. It's huge. You can't eat that. I eat commercial time all the time. For those who don't know, if you've ever attended an Olympia in the last 20 years that I've been a part of it, there are 6 commercial spots, believe it or not, throughout the night. Now, we don't show those on the big screen for various reasons. It's got to do with production and what the pay-per-view audience is seeing and the sponsors, whole different thing. But the bottom line is I have to eat 6 commercial spots throughout the night at the Olympia. We do it smooth, transitions. Nobody even knows that we're showing commercials while I'm out there doing my thing. I tried to explain this to the production team. They just quite frankly didn't get it. It's a different production team every single year at the Arnold. That's one of the problems. So fast forward to the first commercial break, and I kind of explained to the audience what's going on. We're going to go to commercial, but you're not going to see it. It's going to be dead, basically. It's going to be what we call going dark on stage. I could see Arnold in the front row, and I could see he wasn't very happy, and I could almost read his lips asking, what the hell is going on? Is there a problem? And just then I saw the producer kind of waddle his way over there and duck down. I could hear them, not hear him, but I could see him talking back and forth. That's when the producer decided to come over and basically give me an earful on stage as if there was something I could do about it. And which I shot back, this is your production. This is exactly what you guys scripted. And now you're getting exactly what I warned you would happen. So, make a long story short, I was not pleased with the production. Clearly, Arnold wasn't pleased with the production because he knows better. But this is all the fault of the producer and their team. I go out there and I can do what I can do, but again, you're always subject to the best team that you have around you to make it smooth and flawless. Unfortunately, we went to the UK just 2 weeks later. That was just as bad and just as incompetent. It was at that point that I did talk to the producer there, and I did inform them that this was not up to my standards and I wouldn't be back. They needed to basically find somebody else. You could find me on the Olympia stage in Las Vegas. And that was it. So at no point did we actually discuss me coming back. I didn't leave that up to their decision. It was my decision, and a decision that I fully back up on myself. What I'm not going to do is be subject to the comments. And I know Arnold made some comments at the Sunday seminar, which I take a little bit of an exception to, but I do understand. I don't hold Arnold accountable in this case because he's only told what he's told from the producer and his people, who, of course, are trying to save their ass because they messed up big time. We can roll that clip right now. So here's Arnold at the seminar talking about the show.
For years and years and years, I always was complaining the day after the competition. I said, if you edit this show down, you can edit it down to an hour and a half, 2 hours. Why are we sitting there for 3.5 hours? Because of stupid talking with the MC. I said, they make up dialogue. And then all of a sudden now we have an MC that doesn't do that. We go right into it. We see right away the most muscular man in the world on stage, and bang, we go into it, and we go through the whole thing.
All right. So as you can see, not a lot to unpack there. Arnold clearly states that the last MC, or the MC, or I assume he's talking about me, since I was the last guy, talks too much. Now, that's not, for anybody that's seen any shows, you just don't get to ramble up there. We have a script and we have a show flow that we go through. One thing I've never been accused of is slowing down a show anytime soon. I've sped a whole bunch up, but certainly haven't slowed anything down. But he gives credit to the new MC, David Bate, who's a very good friend of mine, and he did a great job. I congratulate David. That said, what they did was they cut out the commercials and they cut out going to the back. So, of course, it flowed a little bit smoother. That's the way it should have been the first time around. What I take exception to is that this was a problem. Then he goes on to say about how shows used to be 3.5 hours. We need to streamline these. Let me just point to that, okay? Yes, they used to be much longer. They were much longer when you had every division. Now you have half of the divisions. They were much longer when you had the balancing act, as some halftime entertainment from Vegas. You had a 3.5 hour show when you had Jan Tana, and they used to paint the girls up, and they had 20 of them out there parading these outfits and stuff like that. There was a lot longer when you had the strongman event that was at the night show. So these are all things that you decided to put in your show. Ultimately, Arnold, you're the producer of your own show. You are the promoter. You decide what goes on that stage and how long it is. Now, you have streamlined a little bit because we no longer have strongmen on the final stage. You don't have the balancing guys, which I used to like, by the way. But again, everything takes time on stage. The painting, the painted girls thing, that's gone. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, you can look that up. They used to do this thing on stage. This would take up there's probably an hour and a half or almost 2 hours worth of just other stuff going on stage. So I appreciate you want to streamline your show. The other thing that Arnold talked about was men's physique, that he wasn't particularly fond of the shorts. He doesn't get it. Next thing, they'll be wearing pajamas. He made some comments about that. You can streamline your show another half hour to 45 minutes. Don't have men's physique. If you're not a big fan of it, again, you're the producer and the promoter of your own show. You sign the sanction fee, and you decide what to have, just like you decided you didn't want women's physique, women's bodybuilding, women's figure, the 212. Those have all been cut from your show. If you don't like men's physique, cut it. But in defense of the Pro League, men's physique is the most popular division that we have on the men's side. The most popular. Women's side, it's bikini. There's a reason it's popular, okay? It's a certain look. That's why they wear the board shorts, and that has evolved. If you look 10 years ago to today, the board shorts are much different. They're much more form-fitting. They've gotten much smaller. They show the overall shape of the leg, but it is indeed a certain look. Okay, it's a beach style physique look. Now, you have an option and a choice as an athlete. This is why we have different divisions. If you don't like the board shorts, if you don't like the posing or the lack of actual muscular posing, like a bodybuilder, you have the option to go in the 212. You can go in classic physique, or you can go in the men's open. That's why we have these divisions. But make no mistake, nobody's got a gun to Arnold's head, forcing him to put on men's physique. So I would implore that if you don't like what you see, simply don't have it. So anyway, I hope that clears up any confusion anybody had as to why I wasn't on the stage at the Arnold. You will see me again, once again, at the Olympia stage in my usual post in my 22nd year. And I look forward to that. I look forward to a great production team who is well prepared, very competent, and we do it like nobody else. Other speculation that, of course, the Arnold is in comparison with the Olympia. And I wanted to address that because I never hear this addressed too much out there. But I figure I'm the guy to do it, as long as I'm on a rant here. There is no comparison, okay? First and foremost, all roads lead to the Olympia. The Arnold is a qualifier for the Olympia. Now, I'm not talking smack about the Arnold because they didn't use me. Listen, I got plenty of work to keep me busy, okay? So it's not a big deal to me. What I do have to say is that this is not an apples and apples comparison. All right? They're not even in the same ballpark when it comes to comparison. Arnold is the biggest Olympia qualifier that we have. So it's a big road that leads there, and that's great. It's a prestigious show. I think some of the prestige has been lost over the years. I'd like to propose a MAGA-style revolution here, make the Arnold great again. And what I mean by that is simply the name itself is iconic, right? It's Arnold, let's face it. But the money needs to come up. Now, they have increased that this past year, but let's just, let's do some apples and apples in comparison with the purse and the money. The Olympia gave out over $2 million in prize money this past year. No other show ever in the history of bodybuilding has given away even $1 million. So it's that much of a difference. That said, the Olympia top two earned a combined total of $850,000. The Arnold top two only made $620,000. That's with the recent increase of up to $500,000 that Arnold proposed last year, and he made good on that. But second place, as Samson would take it, only made $120,000, which is less than half of what the second place finisher at the Olympia made. On the women's side, it's actually even worse, where the winners of the women's divisions at the Arnold only made $12,000. That was just recently bumped up from $10,000. So while they give away a $10,000 posing award and a $10,000 most muscular for the men, the prize, that award was equal to the actual overall first place award until this year, where they did go up to $12,000. The Olympia is $50,000 for those divisions. And of course, they have all the divisions there at the Olympia. You would have to win 4 Arnold Classics to earn the payday of 1 Olympia. So I hope this clears up any confusion there might be, or whether these shows are comparable, they're Coke and Pepsi. We hear all these analogies. No, quite frankly, everybody, it's just not. While we root on the Arnold, I think it's a great show, been a part of it for many years. It's just not in comparison to the Olympia, not in prestige, not in prize money. It just isn't. So those are the facts and the figures. Again, I can provide more if anybody's interested, but I hope that clears that up a little bit as to what's going on with the Arnold and my thoughts on that. Again, just my advice is, Arnold, always the right ones. Can men's physique, save yourself another hour on the stage. All right, with that said, let's bring in my co-host, Sugar Sean Ray.
All right, it's good to be back, man. Glad not to be the focal point of the conversation. A year ago at the Arnold, I almost got beat up.
Well, that's a common occurrence with you, because people love to hate Sean Ray. So it's like that. What was that Chris Rock thing he had out some years ago? Everybody hates Chris, or whatever it was. So
yeah, everybody hates Chris.
Everybody hates Sean, right?
Now it's not even me, bro. It's now Stephen A. Smith is under attack in the NBA for calling out Bronny James, and LeBron took exception to the mere.
What?
hint that Stephen A. Smith would disrespect his son for not being as good as he was bragged about by his dad. So LeBron Smith had to tell him to shut up just a day after Stephen A. Smith signs a $100 million ESPN commentating
Yeah.
contract. So we're living in alternative universes right now when it comes to commentating.
And money, that's for sure. But I got to be honest. I mean, I like Stephen A. for the most part. He does come up with some outrageous stuff, and he hates the Cowboys. So, but there's nothing he said that was wrong or out of place. I mean, listen, you're Bronny James, and this will work perfect with what we're talking about today. You're in the NBA now. You are subject to ridicule, to the experts, to people assessing your performance or lack thereof. I didn't see where Stephen A. Smith was out of line. Did you?
Well, no, and again, it's kind of takes me back to Floyd Mayweather in the ring with Larry Merchant, who Larry Merchant basically was calling out Mayweather for not really giving his all or looking like he was kind of phoning it in, and Mayweather wanted to fight Larry Merchant for his commentating. So we're literally we're living in a time right now where the athletes are paying attention to what the commentators say. One thing I heard, I think it was I don't know if it was Nick Walker or one of those talking heads were saying like, what does Bob know? Bob only won the USA. So let me
Yeah.
get this straight. As a commentator, you've got to, number one, you have to play the sport. Number two, you have to be better than the people that you're talking about in the sport.
Right.
And number three, your opinion is totally invalid if you don't have the same resume. So that would mean that Howard Cosell, Bob Costas, Bryant Gumbel, Greg
Right.
Gumbel, all of the commentators, Mike Adamle, they have no place, including Stephen A. Smith and Joe Rogan. They have no place to commentate on what their eyes
That's
and their
right.
experience and their expertise have shown them. Now, mind you, we're talking about guys in our sport that are young enough to be our kid,
Yep.
okay? Telling us that we don't know what we're. I just went to my 37th consecutive Arnold. I've attended my 36th consecutive Olympia. I've been on that stage. You've been on that stage. I mean, we have been, we've got over 40 years. You started when you were 13. I started when I was 17. We got guys in their 20s
Yep.
literally telling us we don't know what we're talking about. And to take a page out of what you've always said, you got tennis shoes older than some of these guys. What they're not recognizing is that our breadth of experience supersedes any accomplishment that they've had on the stage or experience with what they're being judged on, the criteria, the evolution, all those things. If we're not expert commentators with the number of shows that you've attended, participated in, commentated on, not only in person on TV, backstage, into retirement, then who is qualified to talk about our sport if it's not you or I? I mean, that's what we've done. I commentated the last Olympia that I was in 2001. Maybe my opinion is not always 100% spot on because it's a sport of subjectivity. You know, Al Michaels, Howard Cosell,
Yep.
Bob Costas, these guys are some of the most decorated commentators in the game. What is the UFC without Joe Rogan sitting there screaming ringside? But Joe Rogan never won a UFC title. You know, Joe
Yep.
Rogan never even fought professionally. But yet he's at every
Well,
UFC pay-per-view.
for those who have not seen it, which I wouldn't think there's too many that watch our podcast, let's roll the clip. This is Nick Walker, I believe, on Fuad's podcast. I could be wrong about that, but I saw Fuad on there with the guys. So let's roll the clip. This is Nick Walker talking about me.
What do you think of old Bob Chicarella saying you're not going to ever win Mr. Olympia?
Who the fuck is Bob?
Feel like you love it.
It's just an analyst. Come on, you got to give him he's just saying. He's just saying his opinion.
No. Here's the thing, right? And I'm all for constructive criticism. I don't give a fuck. But
Sure.
you want to play the game a little bit, like you're being okay. Now I'm gonna play it back, all fair and game.
I see what you're saying. He could have offered. I didn't watch the whole thing when Bob said that? Did he offer any constructive criticism?
Listen, you know me, bro. I'm not sensitive. I'm the furthest from sensitive. But watching it and the way he would say some things, it was a little disrespectful. So
Yeah.
that's cool if that's truly how you feel.
Yeah.
But an H shape has got me top 3 at the Olympia, an Arnold Classic win, and 2 New York Pros. So it is what it is.
Right.
Bob Chicarella has won USAs.
All right, so a little bit to unpack there, Sean. But so the first thing out of they asked him, which is a fair question, right? What do you think about Bob's comments that you'll never win the Olympia? Which I believe he's taken that from the Jay Cutler piece that I did, where they asked me straight out, "Do you think Nick Walker will ever be Mr. Olympia?" And I said, "No. I don't believe he will ever be Mr. Olympia because of his physique." I said 100 times on our show, it's got nothing to do with Nick personally. Again, I barely even know the guy. Again, we're assessing our physiques. That's our job, Sean, right? To assess physiques, assess competitions, play by play, all the things that we've been doing for many, many years. So Nick's response is, first and foremost, he's got to start with who the hell's Bob, right? And I would submit to him, actually, we can bleep this up, but he says, who the is Bob? And my response first would be let me tell you who the fuck I am, all right? I'm the guy that's going to be announcing you in 8th place at the Olympia. Okay? So that's who I am. So keep talking. It's like, look at bro, you don't have the wherewithal to go toe to toe with me. You don't want to be mano-a-mano here. It's not going to help your cause. But the bottom line is, it's in his argument. This is where I kind of laugh at the whole thing. Concludes, he doesn't really give any he gives his resume. Okay, hey, this blocky H physique, because I said he's shaped like an H. We always talk about V tapers and X frames, and I said Nick's shaped like an H. I mean, listen, he just is. Okay. That said, he gives his resume. Listen, I've won 2 New Yorks, I've won the Arnold, and I've placed 3rd in the Olympia. Great, good for you. It's just fantastic. Nobody's ever said you weren't a good bodybuilder. Okay.
Yeah.
This was a very pointed question of whether I think you would be Mr. Olympia. Okay. And the answer to me is no. But then he goes on to say, and besides, what has Bob won? So what? He won the USA? So my question back to you, Nick, would be is you know where I'm going with this one, bro. What does me in anything I won, whether I won the USA, the Olympia myself, what does that have to do with my opinion on your physique? How does that help your physique?
So let me just put some context. There's not an announcer on the planet that has to have played the game, succeeded and excelled the game to the superiority of the athletes that he's actually commentating on. It's not part of the requirement. It's not part of the resume. Yeah, there are certain exceptions. Yeah, Tom Brady's very good at what he did. He's the GOAT. And he's great on the mic. He's great. He's great. Knows what he's talking about. So is Troy Aikman. So is Dan Marino. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Jim Kelly never won a Super Bowl. Is he not qualified to commentate on the Super Bowl? They played in it. My point is this. I think Nick has to pay more attention to just Nick and block. I said this. He needs to block the noise out. I used to break bread with my old friend, the late Peter McGough, God bless him. And then it would come to the Olympia predictions, and he would have Dorian over me. I'm his friend. We're breaking bread, right? Like I can't take offense to. I cannot take offense to what Peter McGough's opinion of who is going to be what. But I will tell you this: for Nick, like myself, I had aspirations. I imagine you did too, and I think every bodybuilder that's ever competed has had aspirations of getting to the Olympia, number one, and winning the Olympia, number two. Unfortunately, the athlete doesn't control it, nor do the commentators. I've had more people in my lifetime tell me that not only could I have won the Olympia, but probably should have won the Olympia, than Nick probably ever will as long as he competes. That had to do with my physique and my resume. And guess what? It never happened. You know who else heard the same commentary from the experts, the pundits, some judges, from fans? Rich Gaspari, Lila Brada, Vince Taylor, Flex Wheeler, Kevin Lefroni, Muhammad McAway. I mean, the list is long for the also rans that had gotten second. Chris Cormier, that got second and never won the Mr. Olympia. For you to make a prediction that he will never win the Olympia is not a slap in his face by any means, nor should he take it that way. If he's listening to you, he should try to prove you're wrong. But to get mad at you, but to get mad at you as an individual, to disrespect you because your resume is not as shiny as his, it's juvenile, number one, because of where we are in our career and how old we are. He may learn this in his retirement when he decides maybe to commentate on some teenagers or some young 20-year-olds coming up, and they ask him for his opinion. You can see people that literally have the genetics, structure, and the resume to win the Olympia. And then you can see people that simply don't. I said that Branch Warren could never win the Mr. Olympia. That never made an enemy of me and Branch. We're good. Branch won
Right.
2 Classics. He got second in the Olympia. He won far more pro shows than I ever could win. But that physique, in my opinion, was never going to win the Olympia. He didn't want to fight. He didn't say who the fuck is Sean Ray. He didn't.
Right.
He didn't write me off. I think Nick. When Nick says he's not emotional,
Yeah, he
all
said
he has to do is
he said he's not a sensitive guy.
okay, so all he has to do is go back to previously before the Olympia when he sat there with his coach
Uh-huh.
telling people that he wasn't in the right headspace. This is as much a physical game as it is a mental game. And what I think Nick and anyone else listening needs to know that what people say about you on your journey is like a tic tac going into a whale's mouth. It is absolutely nothing.
And
It
Sean,
could be
you
meaningless.
said it. You said it great. Listen, Nick's got me all wrong, bro. I'm rooting him on. And
I heard you.
you know why I'm rooting him on? One, prove me wrong. Okay, that's your job. Our job is to assess physiques and give our predictions. Okay, your job is to prove me and all the haters
Sure.
wrong. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm listen. I am rooting you on, and you know why, Nick? This is right to you, me and you, Nick. Right, mano y mano. Okay, because I was an underdog. Right? Nick's the underdog here. Listen, he doesn't have the same shape as these guys. He doesn't have the proportions, the symmetry, and all. He's a big freaking mound of muscle, and we've always given him credit for that. And that's how he's going to have to win whatever he's going to win. But make no mistake, my friend, okay? You talk about the laundry list of names you just went through. None of those guys won the Olympia, including yourself, with all due respect, right? These physiques were miles ahead of where Nick is. Those physiques weren't worthy of winning the Olympia for whatever reasons back in the day. And since you brought up the USA, Nick, I'm going to submit to you this. There's physiques back then. You're lucky you're around now and not back then, if you want to bring up the USA, because you never would have even been a pro. You never would have sniffed being a pro back in the 80s or 90s, because there was guys back then like the Mendenhalls and the Edgar Fletchers and the Liedemeyers and the Kentastic Nolis and
Yeah.
myself. I was on it.
Great.
These guys couldn't even turn pro back then with those physiques. So
Yeah, it was a
let's just
different
keep
time.
things in context, my friend.
Yeah, I'm with you. So saying you're not sensitive, you're clearly sensitive, especially to
You
drop
think?
profanity in the same sentence as your name. Not only were you on the stage announcing him, but we've watched him compete literally in every show. And you know what? When I've beaten people that other people, friends included, say I couldn't beat, it gives me a certain amount of validation. Nick should not. Remember when Phil Heath won the Olympia, and the first thing he did when social media was coming up, he got on his Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook feed and he called out Louis Marco.
Yeah, I do
Louis
remember that.
Marco was the only. He just won the Olympia.
Yeah.
He's got
Right.
thousands of people around him. He's got hundreds of thousands of dollars that he just won. He's got this big Olympia trophy. He's on his way to making history. And the first thing he wanted to do was give a shout out to one of his detractors. It's fool's play. It's childish. I think when the dust settles, regardless of whether Nick wins or loses the Mr. Olympia, he'll realize that you're entitled to your opinion, and your opinion doesn't mean that you don't like him,
No.
that you hate him. You're observant enough, like myself, to kind of know we've been there. I mean, I've been to more Olympias than Nick has spent on the planet Earth, and so have you. So we know a little bit about what we speak. I've worked for Flex, Muscle Fitness, Muscular Development, Digital Muscle, all the news agencies, commentated for ESPN, Fox Sports Net. You've been right there, and you've witnessed all of this stuff. For Nick to say, "Who the f are you?" tells me that other people are getting in his ear, which means other people are getting in his head. Nick, do us all a favor, block out the noise, because you know what? It's tiring trying to address everyone that
Well,
tells you what you're not. You're
and
not going to be Mr. Olympia. Okay, so what?
let's not overlook the obvious too, Sean. And so I'm going to give you another reason to hate me, Nick. You need to worry about qualifying for the Olympia first, okay? Just
That's
about
a
the
big
facts.
hurdle.
You've
Yes.
missed the last two Olympias for various reasons. That said, we don't have to delve into that. You have to qualify
Yeah.
for the Olympia. That's where your efforts should be because, again, it's not a guarantee, okay? You're not a guarantee to qualify for this next Olympia because you've got your work cut out for you. Everybody does. But you've got some good bodybuilders out there who also need to qualify, like your buddy Martin, who I'm sure you guys will be have a nice another rematch. You've got Andrew Jacks, who needs to qualify still. You got other guys we haven't even seen take the stage this year. So it's not a guarantee. I would focus if I was you, just giving you the right advices, of course. Worry about qualifying first and get back to the Olympia, and then we can have some fun with it. But don't take the stuff too seriously, bro. Again, this is not an indictment of what we feel about you or how I feel. You know, I don't like you. I don't hate you. I love you. Listen, we're just doing our job and we're giving our opinions. And unfortunately, that doesn't include you, in my opinion, as being Mr. Olympia.
Well, let's give it some context, man. I mean, if you're not going to win the Olympia, Nick, and that's your opinion, Bob, and mine too. I don't think we're alone in that. What does it say for all the other guys? Is William Bonek going to hate us and Brandon Curry going to hate us? There's a lot. This Olympia right now looks like on paper a three-man race. There's a reason why the Olympia put out a poster on their IG that has Hottie, Derek, and Samson. It's not a diss to you. It's not a diss to you, Nick, because you're not on there because you haven't competed in 2 years at the Olympia. It's not a diss to Andrew Jack or Brandon Curry, but those are the three leaders of our sport. And guess what? They all three have in common. They've all been Mr. Olympia. They've all been the Arnold Classic champion. So if you're going to be mad at one guy saying you can't do something, why not be mad at the establishment? You were third in the Olympia. Well, how come you're not on the poster? Block that shit out, man. You need to just shut up and train. And I think I say that to all the other bodybuilders too. And when this criticism comes your way, that some person tells you what you can't do, keep this in mind. I became a bodybuilder, really, because someone told me I couldn't do it. They told me the guys were too big. They told me I was too small. They told me I couldn't make any money. Here I am, 23 years in retirement, still living off of and doing the business of bodybuilding that started because somebody told me what I couldn't do. Prove us wrong. That's all. And you know, if he proves us wrong, we'll be the first ones to congratulate him. Hell, I mean, Kai Greene couldn't win the Olympia. And Victor Martinez couldn't win the Olympia. I forgot a few names, but these guys were phenomenal athletes that never won the Olympia. If you win the Olympia, we'd be the first ones to say, good job. I hope you don't get mad at us if we're congratulating you because we said you couldn't do it. But that's what our sports needs. We would love nothing more than to see somebody built like Nick come in and knock everybody right off their block. And we would go, holy crap. But you got to shock and amaze us. The onus is on you, Nick. Don't be mad at the pundits, because that's what we are.
Like, I'm right with you, bro. Nick, open, olive branch that's offered. Again, it's not personal. It's just business. But you actually, my friend, have made a great transition talking about Kai Greene. Again, another guy who did not win the Olympia. He's making headlines lately, and he says he wants to get paid to play, bro. This is an interesting concept. Basically, he says he needs to be compensated financially just to go into the show, Sean.
Well, let me give a little bit of context of what's possible, because while we say it's a hard no that Nick can't win the Olympia, and I'll wrap this up with a little bow. Remember a little skinny guy by the name of Ronnie Coleman? His first Olympia, he was dead last. He was dead last in his first Olympia. And he got beat by every bodybuilder. He took the long and winding road to become Mr. Olympia, but he ultimately became Mr. Olympia. And now that we're on the subject of Kai Greene, let's backtrack. My first pro promotion, 2006, Colorado Sean Ray Classic. A very well-known rookie bodybuilder by the name of Phil Heath won that show. And an unknown upstart bodybuilder by the name of Kai Greene was dead last, 15th place, if I believe I'm correct.
Yeah.
He went on to win. He got 3 first runner-ups in the Olympia. Not one, Nick. He got 3. He won several Arnold Classic championships, including Australia and I believe Brazil and Columbus. He became one of the more decorated bodybuilders of our time. So I say all that to say this. It's not that it's impossible to become Mr. Olympia. We just rarely see somebody come in with a physique, with that structure like Nick has, and win. But we saw Gunther Schlierkamp beat Ronnie Coleman, and he was a long shot by a million miles. We said, no, he did it. It just happened to not be on the Olympia stage. So miracles can happen, and they do. We do not say that it's impossible, but you're the one that has to prove us wrong. And with that being said, Kai Greene, he has built such a career for himself that I wasn't blown away that he said paid for play. He wants to be paid for his time. Look, you want me to join this show to win your prize money. Well, it's going to take time away from what I'm doing. I'll lose money getting ready to compete in the show that you're promoting. You're going to monetize my audience, my fans, and he's got lots. I don't know how many followers he has on Instagram and YouTube,
I
but I
don't know.
imagine it's in the millions. It's in the
Sure.
millions.
Sure.
Kai is he's a decorated Hall of Fame bodybuilder for sure. And somebody reached out and says, Kai, we'd like to have you come back. Well, Kai doesn't have to come back to bodybuilding to survive. He doesn't need bodybuilding. So
No.
how serious are you? I think Kai's in a very good position. Number one, he just launched his own product line.
Yeah.
He's been around the world and back. He's been through the war. He's never stopped training. He's only stopped competing. And if they think that Kai would add something to the atmosphere of what, the Masters Olympia or the Mr. Olympia? Which one?
I believe it's in the context of the Masters. I don't think there's any.
Okay.
He'd have
All
to
right.
re-qualify to get back to the Olympia, or get a special invite. I don't see either one of those happening. He's going to be 50, or he is 50 years old this year. So I don't see those as potentials, but he could certainly go in the Masters.
All right. When you say a special invite's off the table, it's ridiculous based on the history of who they've given special invites to. They
I
gave
wouldn't give
Derek
him
Lunsford a
none.
special invite. Listen, they gave Derek Lunsford a special invite, and all he did is go in there and get second place and later become Mr. Olympia. They gave Big Ramy a special
Yeah.
invite, and all he did is go on to win 2 Olympias. If there's anybody worthy of a special invite, it's got to be the Predator based on his career, okay? Number one. Number two, his track record on the stage producing is pristine. When is the last time Kai Greene was out of the top 3 of anything? Okay? So if you're going to give a special invitation and you think this guy is worthy of adding something to the show, especially the Open Olympia, Kai Greene's a first-time ballot. I'd actually vote. I don't like the special invite, but if you're
Yeah, I
giving
don't
them
either.
out, Kai Greene's at the front of my list. But that being said, they want him at the Masters Olympia. Yeah. We are of the age, and he is of the age, that he recognizes what he has to put on the line, including his reputation, to be a part of an establishment as big as the Olympia brand, that you can't just go along for the ride. He doesn't need the Olympia platform to survive anymore. But if the Olympia platform thinks they can use him, it would be strictly in a monetary sense, strictly in a fan base sense, strictly in a promotional sense. Kai Greene brings a legion of people from the country of India. He's massive over in China. The guy's got a huge following in Japan. Kai Greene is like the coming back of Lou Ferrigno. And to give you context, when they wanted Lou Ferrigno in the Olympia, Joe Reeder wrote him a 3-year contract
Mhm.
for $250,000 back in the early 90s.
Right.
Lots of money back then. And that was just to get Lou to compete. That had nothing to do with prize money. Kai Greene's not too far off the mark.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you in the context of, I get what you're saying monetarily. This is where it gets a little hairy, though. This is where it gets a slippery slope. It's the business of bodybuilding. We're both fond of saying that. But I believe, and I've never been a fan of the special invite. You know that. Everybody knows that. The special invite to me should always be special circumstances. There was no special circumstance for Kai to get an invite. And we're just, speaking out loud as to whether, we don't know whether he'd be looking for one or they would even offer one. We're just going down that road. He doesn't have any special circumstances. A 50-year-old guy to get back on stage at the Olympia, yes, it would be a draw. He's Kai Greene. He's the Predator. Would we see what we want to see? This ain't, a repeat of 2012 or 13 or, those years, and that ship has sailed. But I don't like the idea because it undermines the credibility of the process. There's guys out there right now who have to qualify the hard way, including Nick Walker. He's got to go out there. Got to win a show, qualify, and there's a standard that has to be met. We saw this with Levrone a couple years ago. Love Kevin; he's a good friend of both of ours. Did I feel like it warranted a invite? Well, you saw how that panned out. Did it add
They
anything?
gave him one. They gave it. Wait. For those that weren't around,
Correct.
They gave Kevin Levrone at 52 years old a special invite, which profited
Exactly.
Kevin and his supplement company, Levrone Signature Series,
Yeah.
and social media, which was just getting started. Kevin was the benefactor of giving a free invitation along with Flex Wheeler in the Classic Physique show. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, so you can make cases either way. That's where it gets a little hairy to me, though, for business versus credibility of the process. We have a qualification system for a reason. Now, if I don't know, just pick a guy out. A guy was getting ready. He's a perennial top finisher in the Olympia. He's been doing it for 5 years. He gets, a show gets taken away like Big Ramy did. Like that to me was a perfect example of special circumstances. COVID happened.
Yeah.
There was one show that he could qualify at. He couldn't. The show got canceled, so therefore he would have been off.
Right.
I didn't have any issue with that. I had no issue with him getting an invite in that particular circumstance, and the guy was Mr. Olympia. So there are special circumstances, and I believe that's what it should be reserved for. So that said, Sean.
But I don't even like that. I don't think anyone should get a free pass. That's my opinion.
Well, but again, you bring up a good point. Is it good for business?
We got 28 guys on the stage.
True. We have, and again, I think you should have to earn your way there. Now, it would be interesting to see Kai go in the Masters Olympia, which he's absolutely would be considered for, and that because there is a process to that, but they reserve the right to invite who they want. Certainly, Kai is worthy of invitation to a Masters Olympia. What I find interesting, though, is he's kind of calling out Phil Heath as if he wants some kind of a rematch, which is it's kind of amusing to me, saying that, almost like this is kind of, something that the people want to see and all that. And I submit to you, Sean, did he not have 7 bites at the apple to try to best Phil Heath? Like, you kind of had your time and you didn't get it done. So now at 50 years old, everybody wants to see a rematch.
So when Kevin Levrone announced his comeback to the Mr. Olympia, I know you remember it, and I want you to find the clip. It's on
Yep.
YouTube. Kevin Levrone called me out to try to bet. I just said, Kevin, don't go. You're going to get beat by everyone. He had this
Right.
thing for Justin Compton. I said, you're not going to beat Justin Compton. Don't even think about it. So he calls me out and says, put my money where my mouth is. He challenged me to come back. I had no aspirations. He called me out of retirement
Right.
because he needed me. The same way that Ali needs Frazier. The
Right.
same way that Mike Tyson needed Evander Holyfield. Kai Greene needs Phil Heath to get up and train every day so he can get another shot at redemption. So that's why he's calling out Phil Heath. But that being said, if we're going to have special invites, Kai's the first ballot invitation because there's nobody else out there that I'd give it to. And we're talking about the Masters. So
Yeah.
I don't even know if Kai Greene knows. I don't even know if Kai Greene knows what the prize money is. He could probably call Hidetada and find out. But Kai's a businessman, and the thing about getting off the stage is you start paying attention to dollars and cents because it's time, and you cannot buy the time back. When we were young, sleeping, and training, we felt like we had all the time in the world. And I know that time's valuable because just going to the Arnold Classic and even talking to you, an 18-year-old, I got a 19-year-old, I got a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
That gives things perspective on how fast time goes. How long have we been waiting for Kai Greene to get back on the stage? Has it been since 2016?
It's been a while.
If he's gonna give more time to this, he's gonna want to be paid for it like any other job that anybody else has. Unfortunately, our industry is still an independent contracting business where each guy makes their own money their own way. But if you were playing football in the NFL, you're getting paid every week for every day you practice. If you're a boxer, you have a stipend for your training camp until you get to the ring to earn the prize money. In our industry, there is none of that. So he would have to use his own money to sacrifice to get ready for the show and then count how much money he's losing because he's training for the show. And then by the time the show comes 3 months later, he'll recognize that the prize money is only making up for the money he lost and that he spent getting ready for the show and that he beat a bunch of people that he probably could already beat anyways that are his age or younger. So if he's going to do it, he needs Phil Heath
Right.
in there so he can actually check that box off of his list one more time.
Well, I don't see Phil taking the challenge. I don't see one
I
good
don't either.
reason that he would put that time and effort into dieting and prepping and all that. And by the way, both gentlemen look great. Phil
Yeah.
was just on stage at the Arnold for the seminar, and the responses on the comments that I saw. Wow, Phil looks big as a house. Wow, he could step on stage at any time. Phil stays in great shape and he looks great. And to his credit, listen, Kai hasn't lost no muscle. I mean, he is still very formidable when it comes to having a lot of muscle on his frame. But as you and I both know, Sean, it ain't quite the same when you're 50. Phil, I don't know exactly how old he is. I know he's probably right behind there somewhere. Um, does anybody want to see the grudge match? I mean, isn't it kind of Stallone and De Niro going at it? Like, is there any
Well,
advantage, Sean? Like, if you're whether you're launching a product, maybe you want some eyes. Does he need it? I guess.
I don't think he needs it, but with Instagram and with YouTube, you have a wide audience of newbies. And when I say newbies, I'm talking 25 years and less that see what was and they don't see what is. And they long for what was. I mean, what's old is new and what's new is old. They're looking at what was, and they've never seen somebody look like the Predator. They never saw someone looking like Phil Heath. They want to see this thing go back in time, which is why you saw Mike Tyson come back and fight this kid, Jake Paul, which is why you saw Roy Jones Jr. come out.
Right.
And they have these old timer events every once in a while, like in the NFL, you'll see these guys brought out. Um, they want to actually see it for their own eyes because all they heard is stories and they've seen it on YouTube and they want to see it. It doesn't translate because Phil has moved way beyond the stage. He looks better now than he ever did as a bodybuilder because he just looks healthy.
Yeah.
Um, Kai Green, when you give the optics of his age and his look, he looks like he's getting ready for the Olympia because he looks as good as the guys that are competing today, and he's been retired for
Right.
over 10 years, right? So I just think there's that small audience out there that goes, one more time, give us one more time. Come on. I mean, Lou Ferrigno was 42 years young
Ain't
when
that
he
for
came out of
context,
a,
right?
yeah, I mean, how many years had he been retired? I mean,
Oh,
20
years.
years?
Yeah, oh yeah, he was,
Yeah. So,
making movies, doing Hercules, I mean, all that stuff, comic conventions, and they came up with the Masters Olympia, which was great. I mean, listen, watching Lou and keeping these in context, you're right; those guys were just over 40 years old. Um,
yeah.
and there's a big difference between 40 and 50. As both
Yeah.
of us have gone down that road, we can both assure everybody out there.
Well,
Coming off the heels of a career, I don't care if you had a few years off and you're 40, you can still present a decent. Listen, Lavroni, for all the crap he got, looked respectable. I mean, for a guy who was 52 years old, standing next to guys
I
again
have,
half his age on the Olympia stage. Not only did that take some balls, but again, it's not like he looked like garbage out there. He just wasn't in contention.
well, listen, Bob, I'm a promoter, okay? And what our promoters are missing are the optics, okay? They want to see a Phil Heath and a Kai Green. Kai Green wants a salary to get ready for the show. How about this? Go back to the old days. Forget the prize money. Let's have an exhibition.
Yeah,
Bring these guys back as guest posers. Honor them. Give them a fee to
that'd
come
be
out
cool.
there and do their routine. It doesn't have to be 100% full lights. It can be 75% full lights.
Yeah.
Come out there, do one of their routines individually. Have them both do a pose down at the end. Get the pictures. It's not a competition for them, but you're performers. As a promoter, I would have done that with Kevin Levrone when he made his. I said, Kevin, no, I can't have you compete. You're too old. You've been out too long. Listen, I would love you to come out and do your 1997 Olympia routine. I'm going to pay you an appearance fee. I'm going to put you up in a really nice hotel, bring your family out, treat them, roll out the red carpet, and we're going to give you your flowers one more time for the fans. Kevin would have been more respected that way. There would have been no comparison to what was on the stage. He would have never had that asterisk where he got dead last, and he wouldn't have probably pushed himself so hard that he wound up getting injured even more when the show was over. Kai Green can wind up on that Olympia Masters stage if they want him. Pay the guy for an appearance, bring in his audience, make him work the social media, make him hustle promoting the return of the Masters Olympia, use him as the man of the hour, and then let him be the man of the hour in the intermission. And then he can sign his pictures and kiss babies and get his flowers while he's still here with us. And if you want to double down, bring Phil Heath out. He's a Masters. Let him do it. The
Uh,
promoter is the one that has to promote. That's why Don King was so great at what he did.
Bro, you have stumbled on absolute gold here, bro, and I'm going to tell you why. Great idea. We need to submit this VOB to the powers that be, to Jake, to Dan. Here's what we do, bro. I got it.
Yeah.
We put together a GoFundMe, right? From the bodybuilding fans out there. Hear me out,
Yeah,
right?
let the fans pay for it.
Let the
Yeah.
listen, the fans want to see it, they'll support it, okay? It's a winner take all, and it's voted on by the fans. So it's a true people's champion at the Olympia, Phil versus Kai, right? And they can wear the men's, classic trunks if they want, whatever,
Classic
right?
physique, yeah.
Classic physique. That's cool, right? Whatever they want to do, but we'll treat it as basically an Olympia, legends competition, something like that. And it's a winner take all. If the fans put together crowdfunding is big bucks, bro. Listen, there could be $100 grand on the
Only
line.
thing I don't know about GoFundMe is how the process works. What's the storyline to create one? I mean, I got a soccer match. I got a heart attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's wide open. You can do kind of anything you want.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You're literally just crowdsourcing. But let's just say 100,000 people gave $1. Right? And
Yeah.
so you got $100 grand up for grabs to have these two champs go out there, get judged down. And again, forget about the judging panel. Okay. They're busy enough with the Olympia and they got stuff to do, right? Let the people pick the winner as per. And again, that's very easily done. We've done people's champ stuff. We do it to this day at the Olympia. I think it's a great idea, Sean. I think it would be a great addition to the Olympia. And I think we should present this to Dan and Jake. Let's do it.
And well, listen, if it doesn't work with that route, we go to our company sponsors, our gyms, and we ask them to give a nominal fee, right? $1,000, and we raise the prize money, and like you said, the winner take all, and it's a fan based. I don't even like the fan based decision. Let the pro judges do their job,
No, listen,
and
they're busy. They got stuff to do. Forget about the judges.
okay.
Take some time off. Go get a sandwich. No, let the people decide. I think that's cool. Hey,
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I
bro,
mean, yeah. The votes come in. The votes come in digitally, like American Idol. Yeah.
yeah. This ain't no Biden winning the last
You
election
may
by
not
81
listen,
million
but
votes thing. Okay.
yeah, but a winner has to be announced on the night, right?
Oh
With
yeah, but
the
live, bro, live. Like they have
yeah.
capabilities to do this live. Like I say, this ain't the Democrats pulling shenanigans and all that jazz. This is live event from the fans. They're paying for it. Let them vote on it, right?
Hey, it's. I mean, listen. You want to give the fans what they want. That's a great way to do it, and it could take place in front of a larger audience, which would be
Yeah,
the Olympia platform, which is the only reason we know these guys. We don't know them from the Masters Olympia, and
that's
they
right.
have plenty of time to get ready for it. So we could have stumbled onto something that may be a promoter's dream and the fans' favorite.
I think it would be
Yeah.
very cool. But listen, guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts. Are we completely off our rockers, or does this actually have some legs? Is Nick Mr. Sensitive, or are we just too rough? Are we just too old, codgers up here, just having a go at the younger generation? So we appreciate the comments. Yes, that is me and Sean that's replying to you, sarcastically or not, in the comments, and we appreciate them, good and bad. That's why we don't delete stuff, if you notice. Okay, even the people that hate Sean Ray, and I know there's a lot of you out there.
A
Okay,
lot of them.
we even appreciate you guys. You know why? Because even if you hate our guts, you're still tuning in, and we're still talking about the business of bodybuilding, Sean.
Can you imagine if a movie critic was come after by, I don't know, Tom Cruise, because the guy said that Tom Cruise uh, wasn't acting the way that he liked him, or he's done better, or he's not doing his own stunts, and Tom Cruise fires back and goes, "You're not an actor, so you don't know what you're talking about." I mean, come on, we're all critics. Is Fuad a better critic than we are? I mean, if you have a podcast, if you have an iPhone, you can criticize anything. We take our fair share. The athletes are fair game. But again, if you're a bodybuilder, pay attention to your bodybuilding. Don't read the comments. I think we're lucky that we lived in a time where we didn't have the distraction of the input from total strangers and even experts for that matter that would penetrate what it is that we thought we were capable of doing. Like I didn't have that exterior noise coming in going, "Oh my God, Lee Haney said I'll never beat him." My idol,
Right.
my idol, Bob Parris said I had a crappy posing routine. Peter McGough said that Lee Priest is better than me. that is sensitivity at its finest. That is on its finest display if you're able to recite what someone else said about you negatively to the degree that you would have a negative opinion of them. It's a sport of opinion, subjective opinion. I say do the work.
Nick, suck it up. Quit being sensitive. Grow a pair, and if you can't take constructive criticism, pick up pickleball, bro. Sean, that's going to take it for this week's edition of The Voice of Bodybuilding. For Sugar Sean Ray, I'm Bob Chick. We'll see everybody next week.